If you are the victim of a road rage incident, you have to think about what could happen if you decide to confront that road rager. Hi everyone, welcome to today's research-informed defensive lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I am your host, John Correa. Today's video is a doozy. It comes to us from New York City.
To win the fight after the fight, you need help. After a use of force, I trust Firearms Legal Protection to help me win the fight for the rest of my life. From their 24/7 attorney-answered hotline to coverage for the use of all legal tools, Firearms Legal Protection has you covered. Get a discount by signing up at the link below. If you go read the news stories about this one that I've linked in the description, our guy in the hat here is an Uber driver. He's been in some kind of a traffic collision with the other guy in this video. And apparently it was not nothing. And then they got out and start having this confrontation. The non-Uber driver, the guy without the hat on, has come out with a box cutter in his hand. Let's listen in to what happens from here. You saw our Uber driver, he was trying to keep that guy from driving off with his keys, got crushed between the car of our absconder and that van, and the news stories unbelievably say that our victim here was not badly injured. He only had minor injuries. Nevertheless, our absconder, our miscreant, has been found and arrested and charged with very serious offenses, including attempted murder and robbery, fleeing the scene of an accident, other charges too. He was released on $100,000 bond. He and his attorney have said, well, it's not what it seems on camera, but there's some lessons here, and I'm not so sure that any kind of explanation is gonna do much for him here.
Look, you can do what you are legally allowed to do and still end up in the hospital, friends, or in the morgue. That's what we got to talk about here, about being smart. Because when we, are like, man, it's my right, I'm going to do what I want to do, that can lead to outcomes like this.
Being a good, sane, sober, moral, prudent person means avoiding road rage at all costs, friends. There's so many bad things that can happen. And on both sides here, there's just rampant stupidity. And listen, car wrecks are going to happen. We make mistakes on the road. I mean, as long as it wasn't an intentional, you bash somebody's car in. Man, this is why we pay insurance premiums. And some people are going to say, well, man, I don't have enough insurance. The other guy may not have enough insurance. This is why I carry underinsured motorist on my insurance, and I recommend you do too. And I did even when I was very limited finances for just this kind of event if they don't have enough insurance. Because, hey, man, let me just get you my insurance agent and we'll fix the problems. I'm sorry, are you okay? Because, guy comes out of his car like this at you with a box cutter and because he's mad about what you've done. Man, holy cow, this is not how adults handle problems. This is how children handle problems, and we need to do better than this. And instead of looking at this as, well, that's the other guy doing evil, bad things, we should look at this and say, man, I really need to control my emotions and have emotional fitness in order to not have these kinds of outcomes. Now, as the fight starts, you see this guy, trying initially here to get into the car of our Uber driver. And I think there's a good reminder here that when you do get out for a car wreck, and those things are going to happen, that it might be wise, just as a general rule of thumb, and I think as a general rule, whenever you get out of your vehicle, no matter what, lock the doors. Get out, close the doors and lock them. I do that when I'm at the gas pumps, and certainly if I'm leaving the car in a parking lot, and maybe in these kinds of cases as well, that, I don't think this kind of thing is super common, but just if you just close and lock the doors, now your car is not an issue anymore. And I think an awful lot of our victim's problems here are because he's trying to keep this guy out of his car. And I don't know that he's thinking he's going to steal his keys, but maybe his laptop bag or something else he has of high value in there, his cell phone, something like that. So just lock your doors. And if you have the key fob in your hand, or in your pocket, you can lock those doors real quick, and then that's not a problem anymore when you run into an issue like this. And of course, is this an oddity? Yes, but these little precautions serve us very well in other places too. Now, this guy's just swinging a box cutter at you, and is this man a threat of death or great bodily injury? Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. And if our Uber driver had drawn a concealed firearm and shot this guy, it would have been imminently justified, as long as the Uber driver wasn't the initial instigator of the fight. As long as he wasn't the guilty party here that the other guy was trying to get away from, and it certainly doesn't look like that's the case here. So I think this is another instance where concealed carry could absolutely have changed the game here and done so in a positive way for the defender. So listen, carry your firearm. I know so many people that they have a permit and they have a firearm, but I only carry it when I think there's going to be trouble. This guy didn't think there was going to be trouble that day, and yet the trouble came and found him. Carry your firearm, know how to use it, know how to get it out of your holster quickly. Now, one of his problems here, again, is he's trying to get this guy to kind of get away from him. He doesn't want to close the distance with the box cutter, of course, but then when our guy turns around to leave, he is going to come back and he has to chase the guy down. So he's in this weird dichotomy of, I don't want you to close the distance with me, but I don't want you to get away from me. Here's actually a time where I think if you don't have a firearm, because again, this is in New York, right? And getting a concealed carry permit in New York State, while it should be shall issue, and it is technically, it can be very onerous. This is where something like an OC spray can be valuable, because what you really need is to be able to stop this guy without putting hands on him, without closing the distance where he can get you with that box cutter. And something like a Palm OC that's got, a 10-foot range or something, and I just bless him with the hot sauce and wait the second or two that it's going to take to start putting the hurt on this guy, doesn't injure him, and then takes the fight out of him. Very valuable resource in these kinds of incidents, though I think, again, had he shot him, it would have been justified to do so. Yes, it's difficult to get Palm in New York City. You can carry it, you just can't get it delivered there. Now let's think about our businessman in the tie who comes out and he decides, sir, are you okay? And listen, man, some people are high responders and they're going to get involved. And if that's you, cool. Just recognize what dangers you're going to face and okay, do you have the means? Do you have the skill set? Do you have the ability and the desire to get in there against a box cutter wielding weirdo, and it's not your fight to begin with? Maybe your answer to that is yes. Maybe you say, hey, for the sake of society, I have to get involved. All right, I honor that, but recognize you're taking a very significant risk with your future. And this guy's probably not going to pay your bills if you end up getting hurt here. And that's the way this goes down. He really ran a risk of getting hurt. Now, of course, our miscreant grabs his keys, tries to slash him up again, and then gets in the car. Huge mistake by our Uber driver here that he then decides to dive in the window. I just can't tell you enough how much my advice here is never dive in the window of another vehicle, even if it's your vehicle. Somebody else has got in your vehicle, man, unless you have a family member in there, in which case don't dive in halfway in the vehicle to pull him out of it or to get your keys or something like that. And I don't think he's trying to dive into his own vehicle there. This is the bad guy's vehicle. Unless he's kidnapped your loved one, don't do it. Because that goes for cops too. When we see cops dive into cars like this, they get driven off. They end up getting hurt very badly. You break things very badly. It was a miracle that our defender here wasn't badly hurt. Never stick your upper body through that door like that. It's just bad. If he ends up with it, okay, well, that was the negative consequence, which is preferable to what happened here. If he could go back, do you think that he would rather get squished between the car and the van or deal without his car keys, which he still had to deal with? Of course, he would rather have not get squished between the van. This as well could easily have caused him great bodily injury or even his death. And this is why you want to stay out of the vehicle, because when that vehicle drives off, if this guy is an idiot, which he clearly is, you could end up dead here. You could absolutely, this is a deadly threat. So I know some folks are going to say, well, if I see that, can I act on that and shoot that guy? I doubt your skill set is good enough to do so, quite frankly, because if you miss left here, you're going to shoot your victim. And what's the chances of you actually changing his behavior at this point? Very slim. So I wouldn't recommend it as a practical matter because most people have nowhere near the skill set to do anything about it. Finally, okay, he's driven off. He has your keys. You're not going anywhere. We need to get on the phone with 911, get some cops here as soon as possible. But the more immediate thing here is, man, once he's driven off, all right, the threat is over. How badly am I injured? And you want to have that injury checklist, right? And runs a blood check on yourself. Am I broken? Am I hurting? Thankfully, thank God, by a miracle in this case, he wasn't badly injured. But I think that's going to be fairly rare. And so, especially and maybe even for our bystander here in the tie and shirt, this is a great reason to have your med kit on your person because this could have definitely led to some compound fractures. This is one that, again, nothing was necessary. He was only mildly injured, which is a miracle, but could easily have been very significantly bad. So having a major traumatic bleeding event on your hands is a possibility in cases like this. I've used my medical kit 5 times at car wrecks, not at cases like this, but in actual, people get in car wrecks. And having that on your person is really, really wise and really, really helpful. Of course, there's always a link in the description. We sell a kit through Mountain Man Medical that all proceeds that would come to ASP go to charity. So if you want to buy one of those, go for it. You want to roll your own, go for it. That's fine for me too. It's not any cheaper to do your own than it is than the one that we have available. But hey, if you want to do it yourself, rock and roll. If you want to support some charities, good charities, different ones every month, go for it on that. Stay out of road rage incidents, everyone. This is just stupid compounding in 100 different ways. I think have your tools on you and know how to use them because you're not going to get to choose the day that it happens. The bad guy is, and you need to be ready to cover your asp.